Got the flag. All right. Nick Wolf is not here, so we need someone to step in for the pledge of allegiance.
Will everyone who's able please rise? Scouts, please present the colors. Junior Assistant Scoutmaster Connor Bernklow will lead us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance and the Scout Oath.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My honor, I'll do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
Please be seated, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is John Wood, and I would like to welcome you to this very special Eagle Court of Honor for Eli Bachtel and Garrett Magnessen. Over the last several years, I've had the opportunity to get to know both Eli and Garrett and their dads, Eric and Dan, as their group leader during our Montana High Adventure. And it's my pleasure to serve as the MC for today's special day. For those of you who haven't been to a dual Eagle Court of Honor before, I wanted to let you know that we'll go through the program for Eli, and then we'll start it all over again for Garrett. I'm just kidding. We're going to do both Scouts at the same time. There are a number of important guests with us this afternoon, and I'd like to take a few moments to introduce them. As I call your name, would you please rise or raise your hand briefly so we all know who you are? So we'll start with Eli's parents, Eric, Paula. Eli's grandparents, Diane, Rudy, and Betty. Garrett's parents, Dan and Therese, and sister Olivia. Garrett's grandparents, Tony, Ray, and Jean. Troop 1 Scoutmaster and Assistant Scoutmaster, John Paul Benoit and Gary Bernklow. From the Overseeing Committee for Troop 1, Mr. Chris Spear, Chairman. Representing the sponsoring organization for Troop 1 Stowe, the Troop 1 Stowe alumni, Mr. Jeff Tyler. Representing the Massachusetts Governor's Office, Mr. Brian Burke. From the Massachusetts House of Representatives, the Honorable Kate Hogan. Representing the Stowe Board of Selectmen, Mr. Brian Burke. Representing the Stowe Recreation Commission, Mr. Eric Bechtel. Would also like to ask that any Eagle Scouts in the audience, please stand or raise your hand. That's fantastic. So to put the Eagle rank into perspective, I would like to share some background information from the National Eagle Scout Association, the Eagle Scout Award. It's Scouting's highest rank and among its most familiar icons. Men who have earned it counted among it their most treasured possessions. Those who missed it by a whisker remember exactly which requirement they didn't complete. Americans from all walks of life know that being an Eagle Scout is a great honor, even though they might not know just what the badge means. The award is more than a badge. It's a state of being. You are an Eagle Scout. You never were. You may have received the badge as a boy, but you earn it every day as a man. In the words of the Eagle Scout Promise, you do your best each day to make your training and example, your rank and your influence count strongly for better scouting and for better citizenship in your troop, in your community, in your contacts with other people, and to this you pledge your sacred honor. In scouting, the Eagle stands for strength of character and knowledge of all phases of scouting. The Eagle represents an understanding of community and nation that has deep respect for both. The Eagle is a symbol of what a young man has done and what that young man will do and what he grows into in manhood. It represents many years of dedicated effort and the successful completion of a long process that started when the young man became a Boy Scout. From 1912 to 2017, more than 2.5 million Boy Scouts have earned the Eagle rank. Notable Eagle Scouts include astronauts like Neil Armstrong, professional athletes like Shane Victorino and Albert Bell, self-made billionaires including Ross Perot and Sam Walton, former U.S. President Gerald Ford, who was the first Eagle to be president, and many more officers, federal judges, military members, senators, and congressmen. The Eagle rank is earned by only about 4% of Boy Scouts each year. Troop 1 has a much higher average than that, at a rate of closer to 10%. Garrett is the 75th Eagle Scout for Troop 1 Stowe, and Eli is the 77th to be awarded the rank since the troop was formed in 1912. I am honored to recognize Garrett and Eli as the troop's newest members to this exclusive brotherhood. Honor Guard, please escort the candidates before this court of honor, Garrett Matt D. Magnessen and Eli K. Bachtel. At this time, I would like to introduce John Paul Benoit, Scoutmaster of Troop 1 Stowe, who will officially open this Eagle Court of Honor.
Sorry, not as tall. Good afternoon, honored guests, ladies, gentlemen, and fellow Scouts. I am very pleased to be here today for this Eagle Court of Honor. Today we have the honor and pleasure of presenting these two young men, Eli and Garrett, for the award of Eagle Scout. Eli and Garrett's parents and Scout leaders have labored long and faithfully to develop each man towards a responsible citizenship through the Boy Scout program. Their efforts now accumulate in the presentation of the Eagle Award. The success of these efforts, however, will be manifested in the way these new Eagle Scouts set a social pattern for the lives that they touch. By the authority vested in me in the National Court of Honor of Boy Scouts of America, I hereby declare this Eagle Court of Honor now open. I would like to ask Mr. Jeff Tyler to facilitate the rank presentations at this time. Boys, make you seated.
Thanks, JP. This presentation is both important and serious. Attainment of the Eagle rank would not be possible without the support of Scout leaders, family, friends, and community. As the Troop Eagle coach, I would like to take a few moments to describe the path that Garrett and Eli followed on their way to the Eagle rank. The pathway to Eagle can be likened to a steep trail leading up to 3 progressively higher peaks, the highest being that of Eagle Scout. Officially, the trail starts with the Scout rank and continues through Tenderfoot, second, and first class ranks. Then the climb really begins. The path is marked with merit badges, leadership responsibilities, service projects, and practices of scouting skills and ideals. The first peak reached is that of Star Scout, the second is Life Scout, and finally, Eagle Scout. I would like to describe what both Garrett and Eli did to complete the Eagle Scout rank. They were active in the troop for at least 6 months after earning the rank of Life Scout. They earned a minimum of 21 merit badges. They served at least 6 months in a troop leadership position as a patrol leader. They planned, developed, and gave leadership to others in an approved Eagle Service project. Garrett's project was building and installing an outdoor game table with chairs with a brick patio at Plantation Apartments in Stowe, a residence for seniors and persons with disabilities. Eli's project involved building and installing 2 large picnic tables and a grill at the Pine Bluff Recreation Area off of Lake Boone in Stowe. To complete each project, Garrett and Eli showed an ability to plan and develop a service project and to lead others in carrying it to its conclusion. They each had to obtain many necessary town reviews and approvals prior to the beginning of each project and work closely with several town organizations. Each scout had to attain funds sufficient to purchase materials, build the final product, and oversee its installation with the assistance of friends and fellow scouts. Garrett and Eli each participated in a Scoutmasters Conference and were reviewed by boards which included representatives from the Mayflower Council as well as members of Troop 1 Stowe. Back to you, John.
So I'd also like to take a few minutes to tell you about one of the other most important things Garrett and Eli had to do to achieve the rank of Eagle Scout, and that was to spend 2 weeks in the Montana wilderness with myself and to make sure I made it home safe and sound. I have a lot of great memories for our group, Group B, out in Montana. However, like most things you spend 4 years planning for, you're bound to have some surprises, and we certainly did. Our flights were on time, and everything was going great until we went to get our luggage, and 4 people's bags were missing, including Garrett's and mine. While we spent the next 24 hours trying to track our stuff down, we also learned that one of the other groups forgot to bring their tents, which created some additional challenges. And I remember thinking, I'm so glad that my group at least tried to bring our tents. When it was clear that we were not going to get our gear in a reasonable amount of time, Alaskan Airlines ultimately stepped up and told us that they would cover $2,500 per person in lost baggage. And we could head to a local outfitter and get all the clothes and gear we needed so our adventure would no longer be delayed. For the older crowd in the room, we looked like we were competing on an episode of Supermarket Sweep at a retail store as we raced around and grabbed everything we could think of, which for Garrett included all of the essentials, including life straws for himself, Eli, and Kevin Henry, a hammock, I did get one of those as well, and a pretty sick-looking knife, and even a small radio, which was solar-powered because we're Boy Scouts after all. In all, we spent about $7,200 in 2 hours to get regeared. When it was time to go to the trail, we got there pretty late, probably around 5 p.m., and we expected to hike about 3 miles, according to Gary. When we had ended up being probably closer to 5 miles, and did I mention that it also poured on us once we got to our campground, which was next to a small river around 10 p.m.? We cooked dinner and set up our bear bags in the pouring rain, and I can imagine wondering if some of my team, my group members, were wondering what they signed up for. The next day, things were the sun was up and things were looking bright, but while we were hiking, Dan, Garrett's father, unfortunately rolled his ankle and had to spend the next 4 days hiking on a grapefruit. To Dan's credit, he didn't complain once, even though his ankle was clearly swollen. As we hiked along the trail, Eric, Eli's father, mapped our whole route on his GPS, which was pretty cool to see all the progress we were making. Eric, by the way, also wore a neon orange shirt, which confirmed we weren't going to see any wildlife, since he's the size of a bear and wearing an orange shirt. At the end of the trip, our group had hiked around 40 miles, which was more than anyone else's group, even by JP's math, and we had a great time. There was no complaining. Everyone had pulled their weight, and it was great seeing the boys do things and achieve goals they didn't know they could. Throughout the trip, Garrett, Eli, and Kevin Henry made me laugh as they made jokes as we walked down the trail. And it reminded me why I love scouting, and I still look forward to our high-adventure trips. I also want to thank Garrett and Eli and their fathers for believing and trusting in me as their group leader out in Montana. Garrett and Eli, the Scout movement constitute one of the most responsible and wholesome developments in our time. You'll be asked to assume a solemn obligation to do your duty to God and your country and to your fellow citizens. Will Scoutmaster John Paul Benoit please take his place in front of the candidates? At this time, I'd like to ask you to administer the Eagle Scout charge and oath.
Before I begin, I would like to invite all the Eagle Scouts in the audience to come forward. Please stand behind Garrett and Eli as a symbol of brotherhood. Garrett and Eli, I have the honor to charge you to enter the Eagle Scout Brotherhood. By pledging of the Eagle Scout oath before your fellow members, you will become a member of the Brotherhood. Though the words you used will be similar to those in which you joined scouting, today they will mean more than they could ever meant in the past. When you pledge yourself on your sacred word of honor, you will be sealing your eternal loyalty to the code of the Eagle Scout with the words which close the Declaration of Independence. Will the audience please rise? Garrett, we will start with you. Scout sign and repeat after me, please. I, Garrett D. Magnessen, reaffirm my allegiance to the three promises of the Scout Oath.
I, Garrett D. Magnessen, reaffirm my allegiances to the three promises of the Scout Oath.
I thoughtfully recognize and take upon myself
And promise to myself
the obligations and responsibilities of the rank of Eagle Scout.
the obligations and responsibilities to the rank of Eagle Scout.
On my honor, I will do my best
On my honor, I'll do my best
to make my training and examples,
to make my training and examples,
my rank and my influence,
my rank and my influence,
to strongly count for better scouting
to strongly count for better scouting
and for better citizenship in my troop,
and for better citizenship in my troop,
in my community,
in my community,
and in my contacts with other people.
and my contact with other people.
To this, I pledge my sacred honor.
To this, I pledge my sacred honor.
2. Eli, Scout sign and repeat after me, please. I, Eli K. Bachtel, reaffirm my allegiance to the three promises of the Scout Oath.
I, Eli K. Bachtel, reaffirm my allegiances to the sacred oath to the three promises of the Scout Oath.
I thoughtfully recognize and take upon myself
I thoughtfully recognize and take upon myself
the obligations and responsibilities of the rank of Eagle Scout.
the obligations and the responsibilities of the rank of Eagle Scout.
On my honor, I will do my best
On my honor, I will do my best
to make my training and examples,
to make my training and examples,
my rank and my influence,
my rank and my influence,
to strongly count for better scouting
to strongly count for better scouting,
and for better citizenship in my troop,
and for better citizenship in my troop,
in my community,
in my community,
and in my contacts with other people.
and in my contact with other people.
To this, I pledge my sacred honor.
To this, I pledge my sacred honor.
2. Fellow Eagle Scouts, thank you very much. You may be seated. Audience, you may be seated. At this time, I would like to ask the escorts to bring Eli and Garrett's parents forward. By the authority invested in me by the Mayflower Council and the National Court of Honor Boy Scouts of America, it is my privilege and pleasure to pronounce you both Eagle Scouts. Your responsibility goes beyond your fellow Scouts. I charge you to undertake your citizenship with a solemn dedication. Be a leader, but lead only towards the best. Live up to every task that you do and every office that you hold to the highest level of service. And you will both leave behind a record of which every Scout may be justly proud of. The Boy Scouts of America is proud to award the rank of Eagle Scout to Garrett D. Magnessen of 2 Point Scout, Mass. In recognition of the successful completion of all requirements of Scout highest rank, dated August 16, 2016, signed by the GSA President, Scout Executive, Honorary President, and Commissioner. Boy Scouts of America is proud to award the rank of Eagle Scout to Eli Keith Bachtel, 2 Point Scout, Mass. In recognition of successful completion of all requirements of Scout highest rank, dated June 20th, 2017, signed by the GSA President, Chief Scout Executive, and Commissioner. All right, we're going to do this separate so that you can have the honor. Eli, in recognition of encouragement given to you by your parents and grandparents, I would like to ask your mother. I apologize. Too many notes. To the mother belongs the honor of pinning on the chest the badge of the Eagle Scout. Eli, in recognition of the encouragement given to you by your parents, I would like to ask you to present your mother with a token of your appreciation, the miniature eagle pin. Garrett, in recognition of the encouragement given to you by your parents, I would like to ask you to present your mother with a token of appreciation, the miniature eagle pin. Paula and Eric and Teresa and Dan, thank you very much. You may be seated. Both Eli and Garrett would also like to make another presentation. I asked Eli to present his grandparents, Diane, Rudy, and Betty, with miniature grandparents pins. Garrett would also like to make a presentation to his grandparents, Tanya, Ray, and Jean, of miniature eagle pins. At this time, I'd like to ask John to come back.
Thank you, John Paul. It is now part of the program we'd like to hear from our distinguished guests. I would like to invite Brian Burke to come forward to read the commendations on behalf of Governor Charlie Baker.
I don't think the governor would mind if you sat down. Gentlemen, it is my distinct honor, privilege, and personal pleasure to bestow upon you this certificate of recognition from Governor Charlie Baker. I will only read the wording once, but they are each addressed to one, Garrett Daniel Magnessen, the other, Eli Keith Bachtel. And the language is, on behalf of the citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I am pleased to confer upon you this governor's citation in recognition of earning the honor of the Boy Scouts Eagle Scout Award as member of Troop 1 of Stowe, Massachusetts. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. I now invite the Honorable Kate Hogan to read their commendations.
Good afternoon. Congratulations. Good afternoon, everyone. I am so glad to be here. I raced back to get from Amherst to Stowe. We're working with some young women at the University of Massachusetts who are interested in politics, and so we have a program there where we hope to get some of them into the State House to actually see how it works. And so it's a great Saturday when you can leave there and come to an Eagle Scout ceremony in Stowe. I love my job. So to Eli Bechtel and to Garrett Magnessen, congratulations. I know Eli raised funds to install tables, Pine Bluff Recreational Area in Stowe. His whole family seems dedicated to bringing recreation to Stowe as well as public space. And also Garrett was involved in constructing a wheelchair-accessible outdoor patio at Plantation Apartments for seniors. Both of these are wonderful things that they have done. I believe that leadership is not about talking. So many people can sound good, but the actual actions that we take to ensure that we make this world a better place. And I feel every time I am at an Eagle Scout ceremony that the next generation will take our troubles, will take our problems, and with their leadership and knowledge and ability to serve, to make this a much better place. So I present to both Garrett and to Eli resolutions from the House of Representatives, and for Eli, his leadership in raising funds to install tables, thereby enhancing the outdoor space, providing a welcoming location for people who picnic and socialize, reflecting the highest value, and also to Garrett for his leadership in constructing a wheelchair-accessible outdoor brick patio at Plantation Apartments. We resolved that the members of the Massachusetts House join fellow Scouts, family, and friends in paying honor to both of you and for your splendid achievement in attaining the rank of Eagle Scout with the Boy Scouts of America. This resolution was presented by Robert DeLeo, signed by the Clerk of the House, and very humbly by your State Representative, Kate Hogan. Congratulations to both of you for a remarkable accomplishment. Thank you. I'm going to hand these to you. Swap them back if it's wrong. I can't see them. Okay.
Thank you, Representative Hogan. I now invite Brian Burke to return to the podium to read the commendations on behalf of the Stowe Board of Selectmen.
Gentlemen, this is perhaps the least distinguished recognition you will receive today, but I like to think personally it's the warmest, because this is an expression of your fellow townspeople, of their esteem and their gratitude for the work that you did. The picnic tables were great. The seniors should very much enjoy that checker table and the parquet brick flooring for it. So I hope you'll take this recognition, this official citation from the Board of Selectmen in that spirit. And that official citation, again, I'm not going to read it twice, but it is the same wording. Be it known that the Stowe Board of Selectmen hereby extends its warmest congratulations to Eli Bachtel and Garrett Magnessen in recognition of their induction into the Eagle Court of Honor on March 24, 2018, and be it further known that the Stowe Selectmen extend their best wishes for their future success. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Burke. I would now like to invite Eric Bechtel from the Stowe Recreation Commission to read his commendations.
Thank you. I'm not going to go straight to reading an accommodation. I just want to say on behalf of the Stowe Recreation Commission as well as the residents of Plantation Apartments, thank you very much, Garrett and Eli, for your projects in service to the community. You know, it's ironic with Boy Scouting and the amount of emphasis on outdoor enjoyment that both of these young men decided to do projects to enhance outdoor facilities in the town for the residents, and I think that's a great parallel. I encourage any other scouts who are interested in Eagle Scout projects to come to the Recreation Commission, and we'd love to have you, you know, come up with some great projects for the community. So once again, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Bechtel. I would like to invite Mr. Brian Warren, Garrett's uncle, and the advancement chair for Troop 101 Northborough, and Mr. Doug Shimura, Eli's uncle, to please come forward and present the flags of the United States on behalf of the Troop 1 committee to Garrett and Eli.
Congratulations, Eric and Garrett, Eli and Garrett, on your Eagle presentation this afternoon. We are honored to present this American flag to the both of you. I'll read the certificate for Garrett. The flag of the United States of America. This is to certify that the accompanying flag was flown over the United States Capitol on September 14th, 2016, at the request of the Honorable Nikki Songus, Member of Congress. This flag was flown for Garrett Magnessen in honor of his achievement of earning the rank of Eagle Scout.
Garrett and Eli, it's an honor to be here for me to present this flag to Eli. I don't think I'll reread the statement because it is the exact same statement, but I will say I think for speaking for all of your family and friends, we're very proud of you. It's a great honor. You guys worked very hard, and congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Warren and Mr. Shimura. At this time, we'll watch a slideshow presentation highlighting Eli and Garrett's scouting careers, crafted by Gary Burnklow, Assistant Scoutmaster, Troop 1.
I will say off the bat that we were lucky. We have an awful lot of photos that actually have both Garrett and Eli in them together, and which is a good thing to have for a slideshow. I will also say that Garrett was particularly lucky this year for this ceremony because his parents did not send me any embarrassing photos of him. For Eli, we have a lot of these. For Garrett, we have, you know, his Cub Scout days, but nothing earlier. So I was a little disappointed by that, Dan, Therese, but we'll get over it. We'll make do. I like to start off by kind of showing the Scouts' civilian life, pre-Boy Scouts. Don't really have that opportunity here with Garrett because all I have is Boy Scout photos and Cub Scout photos, at least in the early part. But you can see the kids. Here's Eli again. Yeah, great shots of Eli. And Garrett, everywhere he went, he wore that poncho apparently. So, no, this is actually a Cub Scout trip down on the battleship down in Battleship Cove, right? We have a lot of family photos of Eli as well. I'm sorry I couldn't show them all. We had, I think, 450 of them. So I had to dwindle those down a little bit. And I do have other photos of Garrett aside from being on the battleship as well, but we'll get there. Eli, early fishing. Still on the battleship. And yeah, he's still on the battleship. Look at those frozen eyelashes. How long were you outside? Jeez. Okay, moved off the battleship. Now down at the Pawtucket Red Sox baseball field for the camping in there as well. There's a photo of all the tents set up on the field, by the way. I didn't include it here, but I find it amazing you fit all those tents on there. And with very little room between tents, apparently. One of your Cub Scout dens, and at least one other Scout in there that I see. Two, oh yeah, right here. That's Nick, right? Yeah. And Teddy. And Peter, who was a Scout for a little while. Peter's here, I believe. On the ski slopes. There you go. Like I said, I have a lot of good photos of Eli. Garrett on the Pinewood Derby, I believe. Yep, that's where you're at. Look at that, the old track. That's how long ago this was. That's the old wooden track. It's a modern metal one now. So Eli is also very unlucky in the fact that he grew up with my son. So I have pictures of Eli from when he graduated from Kids a Lot. The preschool, that's right. Bet you weren't expecting that one, huh? Or when he did a presentation at Pompo, I have a picture of him because I've known him a long time. Skating at Fenway Park, that must have been quite an experience for Garrett. Love of wildlife. Love of corn. Garrett in front of the Enterprise. And I told you. That's a mighty fish you have there, but well done. And finally, we're going to get into some actual Cub Scout photos. Garrett in his den. Pinewood Derby days are always fun. Have some outside of the scouting area for Eli, paying attention to the game, I see. Your punk phase. And that's right, the lip sync contest. Look at that, it's you in the middle, belting out the tunes. Sweet. Connor likes this picture too. Garrett on one of his Cub Scout camping outings. I believe, or a hike at least. No, I think you were actually camping here because I have pictures of you guys around the fire. Yeah, there's a good one. That's nice. Quite the Cub Scout career. Where was this at? Do you remember? Oh, was it? Okay. That says first place. Who'd you steal that from, Eli? That's his car. I love the car. It's the cheddar cheese with a mouse on it. Can't beat that. Doesn't quite understand the idea of eye black, but that's okay. This is a crossover. This is when you crossed over. That's you in the middle. Sorry for the dark picture. To become a Boy Scout. And a proud mom. And this is Garrett crossing over as well. I love it when I have pictures of kids actually crossing over from Weeplos. It makes it so much more interesting. So you guys started off your Boy Scout career pretty quickly. This is actually the Memorial Day Parade, and that's Garrett right there. One of his early attendances with the troop. And this is actually at Gillette Stadium, obviously, on a trip, and there's Garrett right there, where we get to go on the field. It was a nice trip. It was great. Kids had a good time. Eli's a football player, so we have a lot of football photos as well. And Garrett's a baseball player, so we have a lot of baseball photos of Garrett. This is one of your early troop campouts. This is a bike trip down to the Cape. It's Garrett smack dab in the middle. And this is Eli poking a fire. That's him right there. One of the earlier town forest outings I have of him. And one of Garrett on one of our campouts. I have no idea where this is. String burning contest. And the Baseball Hall of Fame. Eli right here in the middle. One of the several times we've gone there. Band. And this is actually some of my more favorite photos are the Veterans Breakfast that we serve every year. This was a few years ago, obviously, at St. Isidore's. And Garrett and Eli are always there, both of them, every time. Always willing to serve, literally. So they can always be counted on, which is nice. And this was actually just this year or 2 years ago, I think, maybe, at the Union Church. Sorry, First Parish Church. That's a nice photo there, and hopefully the rest of these guys will get eagle as well, but there's 3 eagles right there, Jim Irvin, Eli, and Garrett. And Teddy's working on his, right? Yeah, okay. And Nick should be getting his as well, hopefully. Some outside activity here. This is the Operation Shredding, paper shredding that we did, which Eli helped out. And here you have Garrett on one of our town forest campouts, probably just when he crossed over or even before. Another bike trip. Eli right here in the middle. You can tell it's a Troop 1 trip because it is raining. And again, another bike outing. Eli's over here with the cool shades on. And a bike trip for Garrett as well, down to the Cape. Camping out in the town forest, I think. This is actually on a canoe trip. Eli's cooking us all breakfast right here, doing a heck of a job. And again, you can tell it's a Troop 1 trip. That was the weather the whole week. This is Eli in an action photo in a canoe, going through some rapids on that same canoe trip. First of all, Eli's in the bow of the canoe, and my son is in the stern. And Connor, I'm not sure that's the right way to hold the paddle. And I just like, if I could focus in here, I bet there's a look of absolute terror on Eli's face. But I can't tell, but I know they were pretty happy to get through the rapids unscathed. This is one of Garrett's very first campouts after crossing over. I remember it very well, over in Knobscott, over in Framingham, learning how to do some cooking on a stove. And one of the skills that they have to learn as part of Troop 1 Stowe is how to play double ball, which is a crazy stick game that has no rules. So it can get very intense at times, but the kids are happy to learn it and carve their own little double ball sticks. Here's Eli again, master chef, working the stove on camp out in Southwick. And here's the camp out down in Connecticut, in which Garrett is doing nothing. Adding nothing to the scene here, but it's a good picture of him, so I left it in. Again, Memorial Day Parade. It's Eli up front. Love the flags and all the uniforms. And now we're getting to the point in the show where every single picture has Kevin Henry at some point. And I don't know why, but that's the way it works out. You'll see him in virtually every photo now that is... And here's Eli right here, and I just want you to look at that intense look on his face. Everyone else is having a good time, but Eli is business, all business, ready to go. Same trip. This is a whitewater rafting trip up in Maine, in the Kennebec River. You can see here. Is that Max? So that's an Eagle picture right there. All 4 Eagle Scouts. That's impressive. All 4 of those guys. Noah Travelant. One of the Dorans, I don't know which one. They both got it, so they're twins. Don't ask me which one it is. And here's Eli powering through over here in the whitewater. I do have a picture of Garrett also on the whitewater trip, right here, doing nothing again. There's Garrett doing more of nothing. Eli playing some badminton at camp. Garrett trying to avoid the camera at camp. He kind of looks like the Bigfoot video. You ever see that? He's walking away. It's Eli again, watching the badminton game. And Garrett, Fuzzy Garrett. Again, one of the several pictures I have that have both scouts in them. Garrett's over here on the left, Eli right here on the right. Here, they're practicing for taking down the flags at Boy Scout camp. They have to do a little ceremony, and they have to practice it and put it in place and go down and actually perform this flag ceremony. And there's Garrett doing that. It's a group of them all. You can see Eli with one of the flags that they have to remove right here, and Garrett on the far left. A lot of pictures of these guys at camp, which is great. Again, both of them together. Eli and Garrett over here on the right, preparing to do this flag ceremony. This is one of the water events they have at camp. That's Eli in the middle, second from the left. I don't know what the point here was. You had to swim and tag somebody or something. But again, an Eagle Scout picture, believe it or not. Here's Garrett with his traditional headband on, getting ready for the Apache relay at camp, which was it's a relay race held every week. Eli sitting on a fence. Again, more Apache relay photos. More intense Eli photos. And some action photos with Garrett. Actually was our rower for the Apache relay and did an exceptional job. Which is very difficult. You have to row halfway around the lake, spin the rowboat, and back it in. So it takes some pretty good rowing skill. And I'd like to think Garrett's in the lead here. I'd like to think that, but we have no way of knowing. I think we did win it that year. This was a victory photo. The end of camp always comes with some awards handed out. And then I want to get into a little bit of what John talked about, the Montana trip. This was actually a Montana training trip with our group. You can see Eli and Garrett here. This was, we hiked from the Stowtown Forest over to the National Wildlife Refuge on State Road. We hiked through the woods to get there with full gear, kind of a training trip to get them warmed up for backpacking in Montana. And here they are again. And this was kind of the last, one of the well-attended training trips right here. There's the Mohawk again, with color this time. The band, here you go. That's what, I don't know whose car that is, but I'd be killing you if I was mine. The Ferrari. Some outside scouts work, obviously, with some important things that Eli's done, the class toy drive they had with you and Maddie. And some of the toys you raised there, which is pretty impressive. Is that the real Santa, by the way? I don't know. This photo was actually taken in Montana, but it doesn't look it, so I threw it in here in kind of the civilian section. But it's a good one, and again, has Kevin Henry in it. And that's the, hey ladies, image. I get a better one later, but. And Garrett, of course, this is Garrett receiving an award at the end of the year, one of our end of the year Course of Honor and Party. Again with Kevin Henry, who looks really confused, but helping out the Stowe Lions in some regard. There you go. They call me Shades. Garrett is actually one of the winners of a TOSA scholarship as he went to UMass Lowell, I should say. It used to be ULowell. I'm an old guy. And so this is him actually receiving from John Wood, by the way. That's John up there. There you go. Presenting the TOSA scholarship to Garrett Magnessen. And, of course, graduation. And UMass Lowell. So, Montana. Let's talk a little bit about Montana. This was a great trip, and as John mentioned, we had both Garrett and Eli in our group the whole week. John was the group leader, and so naturally we have a lot of photos of the both of them, starting with both of them on the plane, or near the plane, and of course in the wilderness itself. This is day one, and this was the infamous 3-mile hike that turned into like a 6-mile hike. This is right at the beginning of it, so nobody's really mad at me yet, which is nice. This is the whole group, and you see Garrett back here and Eli back here. And there you go. Dropping an album. We hiked for about 40 miles in the Great Bear Wilderness and in the Bob Marshall Wilderness, all part of the Flathead National Forest out there. Did a lot of fishing, camping, swimming, hiking. It was great. It was a great time. This is Garrett preparing one of the meals for us. And of course, since they were in the same group, we have a lot of photos of them together, which is nice. And this was all of the group, kind of the midway point of the hike, one of the better scenic vistas. You can see everybody's still pretty much smiling. Those are those life straws that John talked about too, that they're using. Snacks on the trail, snacks at the campsite. This is the Flathead River, which was exceptionally cold, but the kids went swimming in every day pretty much anyway. A lot of relaxing when you get to the campsites, which is nice. A lot of relaxing when you get to the campsites. And fishing. And swimming. A lot of father-son photos taken. I think I had to whittle those down as well. I think we had 40 or 50 of those for the pair. The bright orange shirt that John mentioned, he was definitely not going to be shot by a hunter. Garrett with all his friends up on the rock. I don't know who's behind Eli doing that. I would like to think it's Garrett, but. Hey, ladies. More cooking going on. Because this is, I think, second to last night on the trail, and you can see we're all pretty beat at this point. Look at John's face. He's had enough. One of the vistas on there, Garrett over here and Eli right here. Some great shots. There you go. That's a good one. Sometimes the trail gets you. We did some visiting out to Glacier National Park as well, and had some great pictures from Glacier National Park and some of the activities that we did. We did a week of backpacking, 6 days of backpacking and 7 days of sightseeing, kind of touring around Glacier National Park in upper Montana, northwest Montana. So these photos are from that time period. This is actually called Glacier Lake, or Iceberg Lake, I'm sorry, which some folks did a day hike to. Garrett went on that hike and did some swimming. Looks a little cold. Some other folks did a day hike up to something called Ptarmigan Tunnel, which is actually a tunnel drilled into the side of a mountain, which is kind of neat. Eli went on that hike. That's at Logan Pass, which is the Continental Divide at Glacier National Park. This is the Ptarmigan Tunnel. You can see the big metal door, basically, that's right there. You can walk through and get to the other side of the valley, which is neat. It's a really long hike. This is the group that made it up. It's Eli up here. And this is one of the more interesting waterfalls we saw. The water coming out of the rock right there, which is kind of cool. I guess when it's really wet, the water flows over the top. But we hit it when it was a little bit dry, so it came out of a hole in the top, which is weird. It looks pretty cool. The best thing to do when you get off the trail, though, is to go and eat a bunch of pizza. So this is what we did immediately coming off the trail. More Kevin Henry, of course. And one of the things we also did was a ropes course that they had in nearby where our base camp was. And unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of Garrett on this, but I do have a couple here of Eli. That's Eli preparing to walk across these things and going on these logs that are throwing up in the air. And for the most part, he did okay, but ran into a little bit of an issue at one point. And this was actually the last night that we had in Montana. We went to dinner at I won't say a fancy restaurant, but it was a restaurant. They actually served food, so it did qualify as a restaurant. And one of the great things we did was we did a horseback riding, little horseback riding trek in the woods as well. And this was just before, I think, Eli, just before you had your growth spurt. So you were about a foot shorter during this outing, literally 12 inches shorter. And so everyone got these fantastic, majestic beasts to ride on, and they assigned you your horse based on weight, and of course Eli, being at the time a foot shorter and rail thin, was assigned the smallest horse. And it really led to an inferiority complex the whole ride that he had. You'd be like, Eli! Oh, that photo kills me. But then we're going to talk just briefly here about their projects, and I didn't get an explanation on this one, but it looks like, are these bottles and cans, Garrett? Closed? You did a clothes drive for something? Okay. That's a lot of clothes. But Garrett's project, of course, was at Plantation Apartments, and just to show you a little bit of what's involved with his project, Cleaning out this whole area, especially, the roots and everything that you had to dig up in order to make a nice flat area for this chessboard that you were going to put in. The amount of work involved is pretty impressive. Leveled it out, cemented, add in the brick pavers in a nice design. Looks really good. Fantastic job. And this is the end result. So it's very impressive. And Eli, of course, has a project as well. And I want to point out that Eli's grandfather, Ed, if I get that right, was also an Eagle Scout. And they were kind enough to forward me these pictures of him. And you can see these pictures over here in this book as well as a couple other ones. So I'm sure he'd be very proud of you, Eli, to follow in his footsteps anyway, even though your dad only made it first class. But Eli's project was a couple of picnic tables, so building the picnic tables themselves, which doesn't seem all that hard right off the bat, but there's two of them, and they built them by hand, which is pretty nice. They had to ship them over there, right? The area that they did, they had to put in a cement foundation in order to lock the tables, to put chains on the tables in order to put them out there. So it's much more involved than just building a couple picnic tables and putting them there. And they also built a fire pit area for charcoal grilling. And this is all at the recreation land up on over by Lake Boone. This is the crew he had helping him. So those are just the picnic tables in place. And that's the whole area. So mulch the whole area, right? Here's the grill, the upright grill, the two tables. Really impressive job. I will mention also that the pathway that goes around here was part of somebody else's Eagle project. And hopefully he'll finish up the rest of his project and get that done. But it was kind of a joint thing with Kevin Henry and Eli, so it all worked out really well. This is, of course, when Eli got his board review from the council, and it was kind of traditional to take a picture with the Scoutmaster, but I immediately saw something fishy about this photo. It does not look right. Right, there you go. Yeah, that's more like it. And we do have lucky enough to have some decent pictures with both of them when they receive their Eagle Board review. So congratulations, both Eli and Garrett. Good luck in the future.
Thank you, Gary. Would Mr. Jeff Tyler come forward and present the awards to each scout on behalf of Troop 1 Stowe alumni?
Excellent. Thanks for the wonderful slideshow, Gary. Troop 1 Stowe alumni is the sponsoring organization for Troop 1. It's a group of former members, former scouts, but also adults who have been affiliated with the troop. The Montana trip being a good example of a lot of the alumni coming together and supporting the scouts. Every scout in Troop 1 who earns his Eagle Award is then gifted a membership to the National Eagle Scout Association by TOSA, Troop 1 Stowe alumni, and I have here certificates showing that.
Thank you, Jeff. And now at this time, would Scoutmaster John Paul Benoit and Assistant Scoutmaster Gary Barnklow please come forward and make the Scoutmaster's presentation?
So, quite a long time ago now, John Paul and I earned our Eagle Scout awards in a joint ceremony in the basement of St. Isidore's Hall. And John Paul was gifted a knife in recognition from his dad. So we'd like to, we've started a tradition where we do the same thing for our scouts. So I'd like to mention that this award is presented in memory of Donald Benoit, the originator of the Eagle Knife tradition in Troop 1 Stowe, and an exceptional bridge builder. An old man traveling a long highway came at the evening, cold and gray, to a chasm vast and deep and wide. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. The sullen stream held no fears for him, but he turned when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. Old man, cried a fellow pilgrim near, you're wasting your time in building here. Your journey will end with the closing day. You never again will pass this way. You've crossed the chasm, deep and wide. Why build you this bridge at eventide? The bridge builder lifted his old gray head. Good friend, in the path I have come, he said, there followeth after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This stream which has been as naught to me, to that fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I am building this bridge for him. Troop 1 Stowe hereby presents to Eli Bachtel and Garrett Magnessen the Bridge Builder Knife as recognition for achieving the rank of Eagle Scout. It represents the sharp intelligence, pointed determination, and strength of character necessary to attain the Eagle rank, and symbolizes the lifelong bond between Scoutmaster and Scout. Presented on this, the 24th day of March, 2018. Make sure you get the right ones.
Thank you, Gary and John Paul. Now, Eli and Garrett would like to say a few words at this time.
Thank you for everyone for coming today. Many people have helped us along the way to achieving Eagle Scout, and there's not enough time to name them all. We would like to thank our special guests, the Honorable Kate Hogan, Brian Burke on behalf of Governor Baker and the Board of Selectmen, Eric Bachtel from the Rec Commission, and the Scouts who have assisted us with a lot of time and hard work.
We'd also sincerely like to thank JP and Gary, our Scoutmasters, Jeff Tyler and Mr. Bob Zelli, our Eagle coaches, and John Wood, our Master of Ceremonies today, and also our group leader in Montana, along with Mr. Stepp, Mr. Buckles, and Mr. Spear.
In addition, I'd like to thank the people at Plantation Apartments for their assistance and Miss Sharon Funkhauser from the Council on Aging. And also thank you to all of our grandparents, aunts, uncles, and family friends.
We appreciate our siblings, Egan and Olivia, for putting up with us. We also, to Garrett's parents and my own, thank you for your love and support.
We appreciate all that you do for us each day.
So also we'd just like to say a little bit about our scouting experiences. So we were both fortunate enough to be a part of Troop 1 Stowe since we've been 12 years old, and as a result of the many great lessons that we've learned and invaluable experiences that we've had had a very good time in scouting, and it's led us to be the people who we are today. So the connections that we've made and the adventures that we've been on will not be forgotten, and we would just like to say that we will carry with us all the lessons that we've learned and all the things that we've gained from our time in scouting, in hopes that they will make us better people in our future.
And as many of you know, it's been a while since I actually finished my Eagle project. But I still and will always remember the triumph I felt achieving it. It's something that Eli and I have always been proud of. Regret is a terrible feeling, and if we didn't complete our Eagle, we would definitely have felt it. After getting so far into Scouts, it's worth making that final push to the finish line. And we will always be grateful for what the Scouts have done for us, and we hope that the younger Scouts realize how much of an impact achieving the rank of Eagle can have. Thank you.
Would everyone please rise? As an appropriate closing to this Eagle Court of Honor, I would ask that Eli and Garrett lead us in reaffirming the Scout Law.
Just trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
So this Eagle Court of Honor is now concluded. Thank you all for attending, participating, and sharing in this joyous occasion. If you would please join us for some refreshments in the area towards the back of the room. Also in the back of the room, you're welcome to review Eli and Garrett's Eagle Project and other scouting memorabilia. Congratulations, gentlemen.